Today's voices need to be more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome, everybody, to the B.O.S. podcast. I'm Ganguzza, your host, along with my lovely co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hi.
And this week, our listeners, we have a very special treat for you. One of my favorite VO peeps out there. He's a coach. He is a singer. He is an actor. He is, oh my gosh, a voice talent. He's everything. And one of the coolest VO bosses I know, Rodney Saulsberry. Rodney, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you, Ann, for having me. Thank you, Gabby. I want to say hello to both of you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. The feeling is mutual for both of you. I have enjoyed both of you through the years, had the pleasure of working with you, Ann. Look forward to working with Gabby, and both of you too. I just love your online presence, the things that you guys put out there, your blogs, your emails. Everything is just top notch, and I've learned so much, and I'm sure other people out there have learned from you too. Also.
Well, thanks, Rodney. That's lovely.
Oh my gosh,
it's complimenting us. I love that.
I'm also swooning a little bit over here. Wow.
Wow. That's just a fact with me and Rodney. I swoon every time I talk to Rodney. But yes, thank you so much for that, Rodney. So I wanted to kind of open it up, Rodney, because you have been in this industry for a good number of years, and you've seen it transition and change, and tell us a little bit about your start in the industry and how it's evolved over the years, and how you have adapted and adjusted and become your own VO boss.
Well, I think it's a great question, because I really believe that our backgrounds and what we came from is what led us to where we are right now as voiceover performers, and as you say, a VO boss, voiceover boss. I started out singing and acting, and I started out in high school plays and musicals, and I would sing in those musicals. I was Tony in West Side Story, Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, and Billy Bigelow in Carousel. So I happened to get all the lead roles in high school, so that was really nice. And then I went on to college, and I continued to do musical theater, and then I went on the road with a show called Your Arms Too Short to Box with God, a musical that was on Broadway, and then we went on the road, and our last stop was Los Angeles, and I always wanted to come here anyway to be an actor, so it was great that this was the last stop. And I ended up getting an agent, and I started to do a lot of nighttime television, guest spots, and then guest starring roles. I was a regular on some soap operas, and I started to put my music out. I made a couple of albums, and along the way, people would always say to me, "You have a great voice, you should get into voiceover." I didn't even know what voiceover was. I found out, I made a demo, and it changed my life.
What an amazing span of different aspects of this career in utilizing your voice.
Yes, and all of these things help you as a voiceover artist. Being a singer, I had to interpret songs. I had to interpret the lyrics of songs, and so we have to interpret copy. And so I used those skills for that. I had to sing on a microphone, and so there were many different techniques as a singer that I would use, from getting close to the mic, from getting far away from it when I would sing really loud, singing off axis, singing right on into the mic. All these different things I used when I got to voiceover too. So I found that they were quite similar. And a lot of times we find that things that we have done in our past are quite similar to what we have to do in voiceover. I think about speaking to you earlier, Ann, and you talking about listening to the melody of a conversation.
Yes.
When you're trying to teach people how to do what is the trend today, the conversational read. It's such a hard thing to do. It really is. I love this note, and I must say that I will give you credit, but I will run with this.
Yes, the melody of conversation. Yes.
So those are all the kinds of things that I think our backgrounds lend to what we go on to do now and in the future.
I love that. I think it's so true. And I know, Rodney, you have been iconic in this industry for so long, and such an inspiration to so many people, men and women alike. And it's always funny because you hear people say, with great power comes great responsibility. But that's kind of how I think of you in the voiceover world. You know how many people are looking up to you and look to you as a guidepost in this industry. What is that like for you? How does that affect your VO career and your status as a VO boss today? Because it's obviously, I certainly don't think you got started ever thinking that was a possibility.
No, that is so true. You're right. I never thought that was a possibility. I just loved the business so much when I got in, and I got lucky, and I was successful. And so I wanted to let other people know about it, so I put it in a book. My first book, You Can Bank on Your Voice, was my first book, and I was just talking about this great business and how to get into it, and I was talking about the things that happened to me from being in it, and people said that they were inspired and that it was positive. So I liked that positive theme. So my second book, Step Up to the Mic, A Positive Approach to Succeeding in Voiceover, dealt with having a positive attitude in the voiceover field. And I talked to people like the late Don LaFontaine and Nancy Cartwright and Rob Paulson, and they all contributed to a section of the book called How a Positive Attitude Has Affected Your Voiceover Career. So they all wrote a couple of paragraphs. So I was really into being positive. And then along the way, people would always get into my tongue twisters. And instead of saying hello to me when I would go to the many things that I've seen you guys at, the many conferences around the country, instead of shaking my hand and saying, hello, Rodney, they would extend their hand, shake my hand, and start reciting one of my twisters. Why in the world will a well want water when a well wants water? Will a well run dry? Why in the world will a wet well want wet water? Will a wet well want wet water when a wet well runs dry? And that's how they would say hello. So I thought, wow, that's a lot of fun. So in this last book that I did in terms of a voiceover book, I wrote the new book, Rodney Saulsberry's Tongue Twisters and Vocal Warm-Ups. And it's my biggest book to date, really selling well because people are really excited about it. So to get back to really being specific about your question, Gabby, it's a heck of a responsibility. I was talking to Ann about social media. Social media is so big and so important now. And I find that every tweet I put out, I really have to think about it.
Yeah.
I can't just haphazardly just put anything out because eyes are on me. Eyes are on you two. Eyes are on anyone who takes a chance and says that not only am I going to pursue this business, but I'm going to help others in this business. I'm going to give back. And when you do that, that's a heck of a responsibility.
As we were just discussing, this is only one aspect, and forgive me because when I introduced you, I actually didn't say author, and Rodney just is, on my second book, and now my tongue twister book. So Rodney, you have quite a few books out there. That alone, that's like a career for someone. And interestingly enough, is that you have the dedication and the passion to want to give back. That you have all types of ways that you're giving back, and part of that is through your books, and of course. The other part was I meant to introduce you as, tongue twister, master extraordinaire. So I love that that's just one aspect of your business. And I also love how you talk about how things in your past, you're kind of following along and pursuing your dreams. And that's how your business is evolving. Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
About business?
Yeah, about your business, the business aspect of your career.
Okay. Well, business is very important. And voiceover artists, young and old, especially the new ones, and when I say young and old, I mean young and old within this career, how long you've been in it, need to know that this is a business, that you need to treat it just like any 9 to 5. You are the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. The buck stops with you. You are responsible for the good things and the bad things. You need to keep good records. You need to make sure that you're getting your money. So you need to do follow-ups. You need to understand that the first time you work for someone is only the first time, and that you are trying to make sure that you get repeat work. You have to realize that you are a brand. When we talk about tweeting, we also have to talk about the fact that you are a brand. You know, what is it that you specify, and how can we be specific? Are you good in a number of things? That's okay if you truly are good in them. But make sure that you pick things that you do excel in, that you do have some authority in, you have some knowledge in, you have some experience in, so that people think that it's worthwhile to go to you. And all of that means that you have to be business minded. You have to have a website that has your product there, which might be your demos if you're trying to sell your voiceovers. It might be examples of how you produce demos if you happen to be a person who wants to produce demos. All of these things have to be somewhere, and a website is a good start. I think about Gabby's newsletters. Newsletters are a good thing to do too. All of these things are letting people know about you. And we are in a world now, not just a country, but a world of the internet, a world of social media. So many people have been telling me lately that Twitter is on its way out. Twitter is not the place to go. It's Facebook, it's Instagram. And Facebook and Instagram are great places. But let me say to you this. As long as our president is using Twitter, okay, Twitter's not going anywhere. All right.
Yep,
so this is and all of your big stars have Twitter accounts, and so one may work better for you. All right, just like you may be better in a certain area in terms of voiceovers that you do or things that you teach, and that's okay. But all of these things are out here for you to grab, and they're inexpensive now. We talked about the telephone, the iPhone. The iPhone itself may be kind of expensive, but when you get this thing, you can do everything on it. You can do voiceovers on it. You can take pictures on it. The media has dumbed down now, where the things that they accept are the pixels that an iPhone offers. That is the standard now. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that a beautiful Disney movie is gone. I'm not saying that you don't want to go to the movies and sit up and see really nice things. But the everyday things that you look at are based on what people are shooting on their phones, whether it be a picture or a video. YouTube is big. All of these things. The industry has really changed, and if you don't get with that, you're going to be behind.
Excellent point. I love that, Rodney. And especially when you're talking about the technology. And there's so many people that are so timid about adopting the new technology. But I think we were discussing this earlier, that, you know, the industry has just evolved, and you've seen it, you know, firsthand. And you've rolled with the changes, which I truly believe is one of the primary reasons that, you know, you are a VO boss, because you are evolving. You're learning still every day.
Yes, you have to. You have to. And you have to. The beauty of the business, especially those who put music out and they get royalties, or they write songs and they get royalties, or if you are an actor or a voiceover artist that is a union voiceover actor, you're getting residuals when commercials play. All right. So everybody might not be used to that type of life, but of course I am. But you can borrow from what I'm used to. And what I mean by that is, do things that generate income. Do things that while you're talking or you're doing something else, you're still generating income, because you have product out there that is constantly selling. And if you have a number of things out there, something is selling. You see what I'm saying? So think like someone who gets residual income. Stocks are residual. right? They can also be bad. They can go down. But when they're good, mutual funds, get your mind thinking about passive income. Get your mind thinking about what can I do to generate income while I sleep, while I'm doing something else. All right. So I learned all of this from being an actor and being in the union for all these years. Follow that model. People working non-union, they always say to me, how do I decide what I'm going to charge someone? Well, you can get something called the Voiceover Research Guide, VORG, and open up to union wages for every voiceover job there is out there. And you can base your non-union rates on those rates. The difference between the union rates and the non-union is that the union rates are going to pay you residuals, and they're going to pay your health care and things like that, right? And they're going to have things in retirement funds. But you can use those same numbers in the non-union area, and then you can say, because you're not paying me residuals and because you're not paying toward my retirement, maybe you should give me just a little bit more. But you base it on union rates. All right. So base everything on things that generate money. Make your model something that gets you money long after you have done the product. So you can make non-union work, union work, and residual work if you do it the right way. All right.
I love that. And it's almost mind-blowing. I agree completely. And it's things that I've been saying for years to voice actors. But the way you just put that so eloquently about thinking about how to make money while you're sleeping, that passive model, it's just incredible. And I wish that more voice actors thought in those terms and we're engaging that process. I think there's a big difference. This is to me the difference between the voiceover boss, the business owner, the solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call us, versus the ever-present and unfortunate starving artist.
Exactly. I agree.
Huge difference.
I agree.
Rodney, let me ask you something too. And this is, I know before I even ask it how difficult this is to answer, but I'm going to throw it at you. You embody something to me in this industry that I think is so important, not just as a performer, but also as a business owner. And that is charisma.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that your musical background and your, because you're a musician as well, you play, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes.
I know that past definitely, and present, because you're active in both of those, plays a role in learning how to do that. But when we typically think about charisma, you know, people sort of go, well, somebody either has it or they don't. What are the things that you believe voice actors could be doing to develop a little bit of that, to have more of that? Because it really makes a huge difference in someone's career.
I agree. I think to try to develop charisma, if you don't come by it naturally, I think that you should get into an acting class. I believe that voiceover is voice acting. I think it's important to know how to act, to know how to do it. I think you should get into an improvisation class. That's very challenging, and I think that there are techniques that they teach you that you could draw upon whenever you needed to come up with some charisma. And I think that just being yourself, right? And a smile goes a long way.
Yes,
that goes a long way. So I would say smile more to a person who sort of feels like they don't have enough charisma. So if we have honesty, if we have a smile, and if we have technique by way of a class, an acting class, an improvisation class. When we started this today and we talked about the genre, the popular genre today being, or I'm sorry, trend is the word I'm looking for, being conversational, that is the hardest thing in the world to do. You know, we came up thinking we had to have these great announcer voices, and we did, and you still do need that. We had to speak with great articulation. We had to just speak the King's English and be very clear about it, right? And then this conversation thing came on, and we're all used to the three beeps, coming in on the fourth beep, or we're used to action, or we're used to the red light. And when it goes on, we go into something like this. Hey, how are you? Yes, and that's and we get into that announcer thing. I mean, that's what we were taught.
Yep.
So now when you say, when the red light goes on, when the imaginary fourth beep comes, you just got to still be you. You just got to kick it back and read this stuff like it's nothing, like very casual. It actually takes technique to do that.
Yeah.
Ann's line about, listen to the melody of a conversation is a technique. I think you could get the same thing for charisma, Gabby. But to answer your question, like I was trying to do earlier, I would take classes to get the charisma. Yeah.
Rodney, that kind of brings me to the next question for me is, that charisma extends not just in person, but it extends through the microphone, through your performance. It extends through social media, as we were talking about before. Yep. And I've noticed that you have had quite a few videos that you've been putting out on social media, of singing and speaking. Talk to me a little bit about your strategy for that. Is that a strategy for your business?
It's a strategy. It's a strategy in that you're getting to see me. Another thing that I love about social media is that I am in total control, and so are you. Everything that goes out there, I put out there. I decided to put it out there. I put it out there at a risk that there are certain things that people can do with it, but I've thought about that, and so it's kind of what people can do with it proof. All right. And then I'm also after something, maybe I'm after a chance to get an endorsement on something. Maybe I'm after getting a job writing songs. Maybe I'm trying to act on a certain television show. So there's a whole lot of reasons that I might put something out there. But the main reason is because video is something that everybody looks at. For instance, on Instagram, a video does better than non-videos, pictures. Okay, they naturally get more hits. All right, and they get more responses, and it's just a presence. I do these videos for my presence, and then I've got so many things I'm trying to cover, and you don't want to cheat anybody. Even with my tweets, I may tweet to advertise a book, to advertise a class or whatever, but I have a whole lot of people that listen to me and follow me that don't have anything to do with voiceover. So I will have to put out a tweet that appeals to them. So everything is calculated, everything is thought about. Now, when you talk about calculations and thought about, it sounds almost like, well, is it real? Well, it's real because it's really me. And it's really something that I thought about. And do I ever make mistakes? Yeah, I do. And right away, I take them down. See, I'm in control. And when I think something is a mistake, I mean that right away it didn't get a lot of likes. I was a little unsure about it in the first place. And usually when I put something on, immediately some people are jumping on it. You know what? It's been about 3 minutes. I haven't had 10, 20 likes. That's out of here. They're not feeling it, So everything is thought about, and the videos are going after something. Nothing's out there for nothing. All right?
Yeah, I saw that you actually had a couple of campaigns out there with hashtags and everything.
Exactly.
Which was good. And I think I saw you years ago, right, on the treadmill, like doing tongue twisters. So you've been doing video for many, many years, and I think that you're one of the pioneers and the trendsetters for that, because you absolutely get that it gets you out there, it shows people who you are, and people get to know you.
Well, and like I said, you're after things. I love Thursday nights on television, so on ABC. So I started doing these little videos, and what happens, they see it, they go, that's great. We'd like to pay you to start writing stuff for us. So that's what you're after. It's always a means to an end. I'm never just throwing something up.
I'm still taking that all in. I'm just kind of, really in awe, I think, over that level of thought and, as you said, control that you have going into every aspect of your business. And that's phenomenal, and something that more new people need to hear. They need to understand it's not happenstance. It doesn't just, it's not luck, certainly. It is calculated.
Yeah.
Are there other aspects of your business that are calculated like this as well? Are there any insights you can give us to that?
I just try to have a tab on what's going on currently. I'm all over the news. I'm watching it all. I'm taking it all in, and I'm just making sure that I'm in the know. And you know what? I'm always a student. I got a great lesson today on IPDTL for man. I'm always listening, always a student, always taking it in. I'm watching everybody's story. I'm trying to see what they're doing. I'm not trying to copy them or steal from them, but I'm trying to see what they're doing that I might be able to incorporate something of my own based on what I saw that they're doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was hooked into Periscope for a minute, just because Brian McKnight every night was paying homage to a particular singer and doing the heck out of it, singing and playing his piano, singing their song. And he would call it such and such, you've been Brianized. So I would watch him, night after night, loving it. And then I started to do the same thing. I didn't do every night, but I did every Friday. And I called it Rodney's Friday Jam. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I love it.
Yes. So you have to have stuff out there, but it has to be good stuff. None of this works if you have no credibility.
Right? Yes.
And both of you have that. We all have that. You have to have credibility. People have to like you. A number of people have to like you, and then they tell other people, and then that's how you hang around. That's how you sustain.
Sure. Well, Rodney, this has just been fantastic. So tell our listeners how they can find you and get in touch with you if they don't know by now. How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, well, my website is rodneysaulsberry.com. And Rodney, Rodney, Saulsberry, Saulsberry. So rodneysaulsberry.com. My Twitter handle is @RodTalks. So that's @RodTalks, RODTALKS. One of my emails is rodtalks@AOL.com. rodtalks@AOL.com. So there are just several different ways to get to me. Another thing I want to say real quick, I have something called the Consultants Club, which gives me a chance to work with people. And I work with you once a month for 30 minutes. I send you copy or whatever we're going to do in those 30 minutes. Some people just want to talk. Some people want to talk about their home studios. Whatever it is, it's your 30 minutes. And there's a monthly fee for that. It's subscription. And I have many people that are being very successful after being with me. I think the Consultants Club is about three years and some months now. And there has been quite a bit of success. And it's just my chance to help people, because I love to do that.
Well, Rodney, it's just been a pleasure. Thank you so much. You are truly a VO boss, and thank you so much for spending the time and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us and with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me, Ann and Gabby. I really appreciate it. Thank you for starting this podcast. This is just one more thing that's good for the community. This is one more thing that helps people, and that's what we're all trying to do. And thank you so much.
Thank you. From all of us at the B.O.S. podcast, have a kick-butt week, guys. And make sure to go to our website at VOBoss.com and sign up for our mailing list for exclusive content offers and special features. Thanks so much, guys. We love you. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of V.O.Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguzza and Gabby Nistico. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.